It's in the city that George Floyd called home for most of his life that there is another fight for equality in America. In Houston, in Texas, communities which have faced generations of voter discrimination say it's happening again. What drove record turnout last year, things like drive-in voting, we saw again in local elections this month. But Republicans, consumed by those unproven claims of a stolen election, want new rules, limiting things like absentee voting, increasing election observers. Campaigners say making it harder for those who've been disenfranchised before.
Since we were all in the car, it was an ability for them to kind of experience voting with us all the way through.
The Norris family voted at a drive-in and see the worst of American history now repeating.
These are just the different versions of what they were doing, in the early part of the 20th century. The Jim Crow laws. That seems to be the general idea that if you can't win, just suppress, while we have the ability to suppress the vote.
Every time there is progress being made, you have Obama in office, then Trump comes right behind it. I mean, like every time it feels like there's 2 steps forward and 5 steps back. We aren't in chains and enslaved, but at the same time, if you were to walk down the street with a weapon right now, because this is an open carry state, nobody's going to say anything to you. If my husband does, he'd be lucky to get to the stop sign before the neighbors come out and call the cops, and they come up here and they might shoot him before he even gets down the street. We're still fighting. It's a daily fight.
And it's not just here. Republicans in Georgia, Florida, Arizona pushing for more restrictions to change the voting landscape. The man who wrote the Texas law says it's about voter fraud, not voter suppression. Isn't this Republicans who've seen the White House go, they've seen the Senate go, trying to make sure that doesn't happen again?
I understand. I've heard that argument, and there's a big national debate going on, and I realize that's happening here in Texas. This is not about the outcome of the election. We like how things went in 2020. President Trump won Texas. I was reelected with 75%, so I'm not complaining about that. No matter who wins or who loses, we want the system to work right. And so if it's as secure and as accessible as we can make it, that's what we're going to do.
But the politicians are now facing a new obstacle from corporate America, high-profile companies speaking out.
These types of oppressive, voter restrictions are horrible for businesses. And show me a time in U.S. history where democracy has been increased, whether it's giving women the right to vote or giving people of color the right to vote, where that's led us to a bad place. In every case, it's led to more prosperity, it's led to more business, it's led to a better society overall.
It has added momentum to the protests and that movement for a reckoning in America, as this mural by the Houston artist Deck reminds us. George Floyd's death shows what's at stake when the most basic rights are taken away. Greg Milam, Sky News, Texas.